Thank you. And did you feel how long are you in a self isolation? 1 month or more?
5 weeks.
5 weeks, yeah. Is there something new you felt already, like you catch some ideas for the future? What is it? Is it not a secret?
No, I share everything with you, my friend, as you know. Yeah. Okay, so I believe that this situation is a part of the circle of life. Mm-hmm. And these things, like the stock market has to go down to go mm-hmm. up. I believe that as tragic as this situation is for many people who have lost their loved ones, I think that this is part of the circle of life. It is a reminder of the things we do well and the things we do badly. Mm-hmm. And I admit to you that in the last 10 years, I automatically, we can create good habits and we can create bad habits. And in the last 10 years, if a client wants to see me, I get in my car, I drive for 2 hours, I meet with them, and then I drive home. I have learned that I can be more productive mm-hmm. when I'm sitting in my home or in my office. Yeah. That my profitability has gone up, that actually my own expectations are not the same expectations that my clients have. In other words, my clients do not mind whether they see me with a coffee or whether they see me via Zoom.
Through screen.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the 100%, but nevertheless.
No,
yeah.
Of course. But for example, I saw one client last year, maybe 6 times.
Yeah.
And that used maybe 20 hours of my time. I could still meet with them face to face, maybe once or twice. Mm-hmm. The other times we can have a call like this by Zoom. It's the same. Yeah. And now I've started to realize that actually I can do a better job for my clients if I'm not always driving around, wasting time. And so again, this is an opportunity where I can look at my business and understand the things that are going well and the things that are not so well. Mm-hmm. Another area is now I communicate with my staff more. Mm-hmm. Because before I could go to the office and I could have a conversation. And when you spend time apart from people, they become more important to you. And so you communicate more. Mm-hmm. With my family are all over the UK. Now, twice a week, we have a Zoom call. Uh-huh. We play a game, we speak, we have a drink. And so I found that this situation has created many, many benefits. And I think that I said this morning on the webinar, if we can emerge from COVID-19, if we can emerge from this pandemic without having achieved our goals, mm-hmm. without having changed our lives in some way, then it was not because of a lack of time, it was a lack of discipline.
Yeah, of course.
It was a lack of desire. This is a great opportunity to do all the things that you really want to do.
Mm-hmm. We chat with our friends about things, what happened with our clients and with our partners, and the reality is there is a time where the more responsibility for everybody to feel to control their life, to control the time, and to control the real resources, and to find a way to ask, to find the time to ask themselves who we are, who we really are, and why we do what we do. And it's a great opportunity to think around these questions. So, yeah. Andrei, would you like to ask something to Sandro?
Well, I suppose I cannot ask. Sandro, just tell me a little bit, what is your specialization? Is it life products, or are you financial advisor or insurance? Life insurance?
So I've been in the business for 31 years nearly. And in that time, we have moved from a general practice to more, I would say about 80% of our business is now investment business. And what's really interesting is that in this last quarter, I have had my second best 3 months in 30 years. And this is at a time when everyone is telling me you cannot sell investments, you cannot provide financial planning because no one is interested. And I think I wanted to prove that actually this is a great time, a great opportunity. So about 80% of my work is investment work, and about 15% is mainly corporate protection, but also family protection. And then about 5% is pensions and you know, the other things that come from
everything else,
from financial planning. Yeah.
Okay, you're part of a network, or you're independent, or as to be honest, I mean, I've been CFA registered, and I actually gave up registration in 2007. So a lot of things changed since RDR, etc. But so I used to work for JRA, for example, which became St. James Place. But what kind of network are you in now? You're working
St. James
because you're talking about your employees. Yeah. Oh, where are you?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you are. So
for 7 years. Before that, so it will be 8 years in February. Before that, I was IFA for the previous part of my career.
All right. So this you were saying about like fantastic opportunities right now. Your clients are actually coming to you with obviously with new inquiries. How has it changed? You know, is it different now? You're saying it's one of the best months or one of the best quarters, but obviously they are asking for something different right now.
Yeah, yes, that's a good question. So of course, if you've just had your best quarter, then there is a good possibility you're doing something very different from everyone else, right? I think there's two parts to that answer. I think number one, that I would encourage anyone in business, not just in financial planning, but anyone in business. We have an obligation not just to provide good financial advice, but we have an obligation to provide good financial education. And good financial education is different from financial advice. Because, one example, 2 years ago, I was referred to a lady who was unfortunately getting divorced. I had 17 meetings with this lady before I felt that she was at a stage where she knew enough to be able to make her own decisions. Yeah. My job is not to tell people what to do. It is to empower them to make their own decisions. And if you are diligent and you spend time, if you invest time and resources in your clients at the beginning of the relationship, they know from the various conversations and the various pieces of information and the service you provide, they know that the time to buy is when everyone else is selling.
Of course.
And they know that the time to sell is when everyone else is buying. So part number one to your question is, I think it's because I have spent a lot of time helping my clients to understand the way markets work. And that involves, in the initial meeting, explain to clients the value of your investment will go down at some point and it will go up. Yeah. Markets must go down to go up. It's the way they work. Yeah. It cannot work any other way. So if you accept that we are going to work on this long-term plan and we remain focused on the long-term plan, the current situation makes no difference to you. It does not change anything. And I use a few simple graphs, one of which is a tracker of the markets, the stock markets for the last, since 2009. So the last 11 years. I beg your pardon, since 2007. So just before the financial crisis of 08, 09. And actually over the last 13 years, if I took away the timeline on the bottom of the graph, you could not show me where the 08, 09 crisis was. Because in 2010, you could show me where the crisis was because it was a very, very big fall. But 13 years later, you could not show me on that graph where that fall was. So at the moment, all we are doing is focusing on the problem, the short-term issue, which is the way everyone does it, instead of continuing to revisit the plan. 5 years ago, Mr. or Mrs. Client, we agreed that we were going to set a 15-year investment strategy. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. So education is one very important thing. The other thing I would say is that if there is no new money, for example, and for many clients, for many advisors, they simply don't have clients who have the wealth, who have the money to invest now. Okay. But then the second thing you must do is to protect the investments you already have. So the way to do that is you have to become visible. You cannot hide in your bed. You cannot hide under your desk. This is the time that yeah, but this is what advisors are doing. They wait for the good times to return. Any advisor can give great advice when the market is going up. But that's not a service proposition. That's not a commitment to relationships. That's just selling products.
Yes.
And that's the problem with our industry, I'm afraid. So the reality is, this is the time to be speaking to people on the telephone, posting messages on social media, videos, podcasts, webinars, networking events. Speak to as many people as you can. Simply ask them, how can I help you? How can I help you? And you will be amazed at the number of conversations you will have. And 3 or 4 years from now, when all this is over and it has been forgotten, everyone will remember you and that relationship will last forever.
Yes.
Yeah, it certainly is the good time to build relationships right now. And you're absolutely right. Even this morning, I had several conversations. And, you know, in these times, you have to make yourself do it. I would rather sit quietly and wait for another day and say, oh, look, the markets are really up, you know. But no, if you call people and say, either sort of almost comfort them to say, you do remember this is a strategy we set up, especially for regular contributions, for example, you know, I say, don't give up. Remember that this is the right time. You're buying at the bottom, you know, or even if it goes down even further, you're still buying well below where we will be, you know, in a couple of years' time. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And actually, it's after you put the phone down, you know, you think that was a great call, you know. So,
well,
yeah.
I think there's one. You make a good point there, and I think there's one other thing to say to add even more to what you've just said, and that is we need to remember that clients buy using their left brain, which is logic, and their right brain, which is emotion. And our job is to create a good balance between. This makes sense to me, but I want to do something about it. You have to combine the two things. The problem is at the moment, in these situations, in these moments in our life, the problem is people forget about logic. It's an emotional response, and they need us. They need us. Yeah, but this is the time they need us to remind them of all the reasons why they're doing this. In other words, we need to give them the logical reasons back again. Otherwise, they start doing crazy things like canceling their investments, stopping their premiums. That's why we have to be visible.
Yes. Good advice. And as always, I start to discuss such things with our colleagues, and every time it's like a new quote, like a new quote. It's interesting. Maya, will you ask something?
Actually, my question was exactly about behavior people after crisis or after our lockdown, and you just said about it that they will rule by emotions. Yeah. And I think about how their attitude will change with this situation. Mm-hmm. Their attitude to finance, their attitude to analysis, or something about money. What they will think about money after this crisis.
Yeah, the thing is, what people want will always be greater than what they need. Mm-hmm. But interestingly, this is a moment that people are really focusing on what they need. So this is the one occasion when they do change their behaviors and attitudes slightly. Now, interestingly, none of us like analytical clients. None of us like the clients who take a long time to make a decision. But interestingly, they're the best clients to have at these moments, because they are the ones that generally don't take any action that would compromise them in some way. People like me, who are very spontaneous, very impetuous, the ones who make the decisions and then afterwards they think, oh no, what did I do that for? If we leave people like me to make these decisions, it's not good. So, I think that we, let's take a look at ourselves. How do we feel at the moment? We feel very uncomfortable. We are worried, and we are speculating as to when this will be over. And again, two reactions. We can focus on all the negative things that can come from a situation like this, or we can look at all the positive things that come. And I am a great believer. Yes, I am a positive thinker, but I also know, as a matter of fact, that on the other side of a negative thing, there is a positive thing, always. It is the way markets behave. It is the way human nature behaves. The reality is, if you are prepared to turn something upside down, you will always find a solution.
Okay. Then, dear friends, I want to ask you to reload because our time for this conference is over, and just go out and enter again. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.